Alright, subscribers, welcome back to another episode of Science with Surbeck. Today what we're going to be talking about is percent by mass problems. Now, I'm only going to show you one problem, that's problem 4, but what we need to remember with percent by mass is that we're going to utilize the following formula, which is percent by mass is equal to mass of element over mass or total mass of compound. And then because it's percent, we multiply it by 100. So keep that in mind. You obviously have that formula in your notes. Again, the first three are pretty straightforward. I'm going to leave you to do problems 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to show you problem number 4, and then I expect you to do problem 5 on your own. So problem 4 is a little bit different. It says aluminum oxide has a composition of 52.9% aluminum and 47.1% oxygen by mass. If 16.4 grams of aluminum reacts with oxygen to form aluminum oxide, what mass of oxygen reacts? Okay, so it's a little bit different here, but it's going to utilize that percent by mass formula. And so just to remind you here, percent by mass of that particular element is equal to the mass of the element divided by the total mass of the compound. Now, we have to set this problem up a little bit differently. And so what we are going to do is this. Ultimately, we are concerned about how much oxygen reacts. So what we're going to do here is we're going to substitute percent by mass of oxygen. Well, that is given at 47.1% by mass of oxygen. So I'm going to substitute this in here, 47.1% by mass oxygen. And what we are going to do is we are going to solve for the mass of oxygen. And we don't know that. So I'm going to put it as a big X as our grams of oxygen. Now, the total mass is the mass of aluminum, which is 16.4, plus the mass of oxygen. Remember, it's total mass of the compound. Now, here's a dilemma here. We don't know the mass of oxygen again, so we're going to say plus X. Now, we have to remember to multiply by 100. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get this out of decimal form and out of percent form and into decimal form. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to divide, and I'm going to write this in red. We're going to divide each side by 100. So again, what we're going to do here is we are going to divide each side by 100. So when we do that, these 100s will cancel, and we will end up with 0.471 equal to X grams of oxygen divided by 16.4 grams plus X. Now I'm going to put that in parentheses. I'm also going to set that that's my next step. I'm going to, right here, I'm going to imagine these as equivalent fractions, okay? So remember, with fractions, we can cross multiply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 0.471 times 16.4. So 0.471 times 16.4, press enter. I get a value of 7.724. So 7.724 plus 0.471 times x. So this becomes 0.471x equals 1 times x. So this equals x, and I'm going to put grams out to the side here. And what we have to do is kind of strange, but we have to isolate x on one side. Now, I like to deal with a positive x, so I'm going to subtract 0.471x from each side. So we get 0.471x, and what we're going to do here, kind of strange, but remember, this is one single x. So what I'm going to do in my calculator is I'm going to put this in as 1 minus 0.471, and I'm going to press enter. Well, I get a value of 0.529, and that's going to be 0.529x. So I'm going to get 7.724 equal to 0.529x. Okay? Now, kind of strange here. Our last step that we need to do to solve for x is divide by what is attached to. Okay? So I'm going to divide each side by 0.529. Okay? So what I'm going to do in my calculator, I'm going to take 7.724 divided by 0.529 and press enter. Rounding to 1 decimal or 3 significant digits here, my number of grams of oxygen is 14.6 grams. So again, x equals 14.6 grams oxygen. And that becomes our final answer. All right, so again, the others are not as complicated. They're more straightforward, putting those problems into those particular formula here. The key thing to remember is that it asks you quite often to find all or every element's percent by mass. So make sure you complete those problems to the fullest. Every problem 2 should have a mathematical operation with it. Even problem number 5 will have a type of mathematical operation. All right, so I hope you have enjoyed this particular episode. And as always, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe.